The unexpected resistance. The high assembly chamber of the stellar Concorde dazzled with shifting hologrids, each projection radiating a pale turquoise sheen that reflected off the meticulously polished onyx flooring. Supreme Commander Zira Vex stood at the principal lectern, her faceted opaline carapace refracting rainbow prisms across the dome ceiling. 4 of her 6 slender arms made sweeping, deliberate motions as she addressed the gathered representatives who had traveled from distant star clusters to debate matters of galactic consequence. The war has reached a turning point, Zira announced, her voice resonating through the chamber, enhanced by the acoustic amplifiers embedded in the walls. The Vorthan fleet has breached the outer rim of the Sol system, and against all calculations, the humans have not only survived, they have retaliated. A murmur rippled through the assembly, disbelief flickering across the bioluminescent faces of the Zelvari delegates and the electrochromatic pulsations of the Anthari emissaries. The humans, a species long considered primitive and inconsequential, had somehow defied the technological superiority of the Vorthan Dominion. Grand Scholar Lirath of the Silnari leaned forward, her gossamer tendrils shimmering with intrigue. Impossible. The Terrans possess no interstellar fleet, no quantum armaments. How could they withstand the Vorthan onslaught? Zyra's multifaceted eyes glowed as she activated a hollow projection of Earth's battlefield. "Observe," she said, gesturing to the footage. The display showed human forces engaging in unconventional guerrilla warfare, improvised EMP blasts disabling Vorthan drones, kinetic railguns shredding their armored infantry, and an uncanny resilience to the psionic attacks that had previously crippled other civilizations. Most alarming of all was their ability to adapt in real time, their chaotic yet ingenious strategies disrupting the cold precision of the Vorthan war machine. Counselor Dreth of the Orbos Collective let out a synthesized hum. "They are unpredictable. They are relentless," Zira corrected. "What they lack in advanced technology, they compensate for with ingenuity, determination, and sheer defiance. They refuse to submit, and that makes them dangerous." A moment of silence settled over the chamber as the reality of her words sank in. The humans were no longer a disregarded backwater species. They had become a force to be reckoned with. The fate of the galaxy had shifted, and the stellar Concorde would have to decide: ally with humanity or risk their own downfall. Chapter 2. The First Strike. As the stellar Concorde debated their next move, on Earth, the battle was far from over. In the devastated ruins of New Geneva, Commander Alex Carter wiped blood from his brow and surveyed the battlefield. Smoke billowed from shattered skyscrapers, and the acrid scent of burnt metal and ozone filled the air. His unit, ragtag but unbroken, prepared for the next assault. "The Vorthans underestimated us," Carter said, addressing his troops. "They thought we'd roll over, that we'd surrender like so many before us. But this is Earth. We fight for every inch." From the horizon, the eerie hum of approaching Vorthan dropships signaled another wave of invaders. But humanity was ready. Chapter 3. The Turning Tide. The Vorthan warlord Khazar Thul watched from orbit, his tendrils twitching with frustration. His forces had never faced such resistance. The human strategies were erratic, unpredictable, and, above all, effective. "How can they still stand?" he snarled at his second-in-command. "Their weapons are primitive, their fleets non-existent." The advisor, a sleek and calculating strategist named Relkor, observed the battle from the warship's command deck. "They fight as though their very survival depends on it. They are resourceful, repurposing whatever they find into deadly tools. They have turned their planet into a battlefield, using the terrain to their advantage," Thul growled. "Then we will burn their world to ash." Chapter 4. The Galactic Response. Back in the High Assembly Chamber, a heated debate raged. Some factions saw humanity as a liability, a rogue element that could destabilize the order of the galaxy. Others saw them as potential allies, a force capable of countering the Vorthan threat in ways the Stellar Concord had never imagined. Zira Vex stood firm. We have two choices: stand aside and watch as Earth becomes a graveyard, or intervene and forge an alliance that could tip the scales of war. A long silence followed. Then, one by one, the representatives began to nod. The decision was made. The Stellar Concord would join the fight. Chapter 5. The Final Stand. The night sky over Earth burned with streaks of plasma and the brilliant flashes of battle. Concord starships emerged from slipspace, engaging the Vorthan fleet in a dazzling display of firepower. On the ground, human forces, now bolstered by alien allies, fought with renewed determination. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Carter led his soldiers in a desperate assault against the Vorthan stronghold in what was left of Washington, D.C. Armed with Concord-provided energy weapons and their own resilient tactics, they pushed forward. The battle raged for hours, stretching into days. Losses mounted on both sides, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. When the dust finally settled, the Vorthan fleet lay in ruins. Their warlord, Khazar Thul, had fallen. Earth was battered but unbeaten. Humanity had proven itself, not just as survivors, but as warriors worthy of standing among the stars. As the first diplomatic summit between Earth and the Stellar Concord commenced, Supreme Commander Zira Vex watched as humanity took its place in the galaxy, not as a primitive species, but as a force that had forever changed the balance of power. And thus, the war that had begun as a desperate fight for survival had reshaped the future of the cosmos. This was When Humanity Defied the Galactic Empire, brought to you by DominionOFMan. The battle for survival continues, and humanity stands unyielding. If you enjoyed this journey beyond the stars, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The universe is vast, and our story has just begun. Stay tuned for more, because the dominion of man is far from over.